I've been seeing this a lot lately. I guess a lot of celebrities are kind of like, I don't know if this is just a normal thing to do after somebody gets convicted and is going to prison for a heinous crime. But a lot of people in Hollywood are talking about Danny Masterson now. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of them are talking about the potential cover-up that Scientology engaged in. A lot of people are talking about, oh, yeah. You know, a lot of people are doing their victory laps like, oh, yeah, I knew this guy was a fucking creep. And I'm like, never thought to tell any of us, though.
Yeah.
Never.
A lot of people are pointing out stuff that's been out for a while. But, see, it was known back then. It's like, no. It wasn't known. That was a clip out of context that now looks very suspicious in hindsight. Go hold them.
Like they're trying to throw out this clip of Ashton Kutcher with Mila Kunis. And like he's trying to kiss her, and she's
yesterday,
and she's underage, and then they ended up being married. So I guess
which I said more creepier stuff about Hollywood overall. That it's like, hey, we have a 14-year-old actress and a 19-year-old actor. We want you guys to pretend like you're a relationship. Go ahead and kiss each other. That's fine.
Yeah, that's odd. And then also, the way they sexualize people in Hollywood, like you're 19 and 14, and they're like, yeah, let's make them fuck, and you're like, guys, you're weird. You're odd. You're strange. You're immoral. You're demons. You're devils. You're awful. And then you have a guy like Danny Masterson who actually becomes a sex pest, to say the very least. And now I don't know if this is Scientology or like Danny Masterson's in case of incarceration break glass. But yeah, they started releasing these videos of Ashton Kutcher talking about, Hillary Duff's 15 and everyone's waiting for her to turn 18 and all this other stuff. And I'm just kind of sitting there watching it going, no, wait a minute. You guys do understand that Danny Masterson is not going to prison for 30 years for saying weird shit about a 15-year-old. He's going to jail for actual rape. Like, he's not. I love this idea. Like, oh, man, see this, the Ashton Kutcher, he likes to be on his high horse. Look what he said about Hillary Duff. Yeah, he said a lot of guys are waiting till she turns 18. That's a lot. Guess what? He's still on. If Danny Masterson is out in the middle of Creep Ocean, Ashton Kutcher's still on the shore.
Yeah, he's still. That's a little creepy, but also at the same rate. How old was he when he said that? Like, again, this is one of the other things where I'm like, see how creepy this was with him betting Kutcher to kiss her when she was 40. I'm like, yeah, it is creepy. It is weird. It is fucked up. But he is also 19. Like, he's not like 20 or 25 or whatever. Well, I suppose 20 is only another year older. Yeah. But at either rate, he is like still relatively like just became an adult. So it's not okay, but it's not like he's really creeping on her. And the whole idea of like, oh man, this idea that Danny did this or that or said this or that back in the day proves that no, it just again.
Right.
It proves that they're being creepy and weird, but it's not really like inadvertent evidence, especially if what's happened now. The weird part is people defending him now. That's the fun part.
Are there still people defending him now?
Well, Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis made character letters that they wrote to the judge, and that
I have those.
An apology letter.
Yeah, I have those. I haven't read them yet. We got to cut. They
made an apology video after that. Like, we didn't mean to hurt the victims. That's not at all. These were just letters about the person that we knew that his family asked us to write. It's one of those we're going to cover our ass and still say we care about the victims.
Toastmaster says maybe Corey Feldman will finally tell his whole story. Yeah. No, you know what Corey Feldman's really good at? Telling you he's about to tell you the full story and then getting some money for something like a nice 5-figure amount and then not saying anything. He's like, hey, he's kind of like a Bitcoin scammer in a way where he's like, if you give me this much money, I'll tell you this person's name. And then you give him like 50 grand and he's like, he wore a blue hat. Hey, wait a minute. You told me you were going to tell me who it was. You're getting there. Fucking
dude, I think honestly either A, nothing happened or not nothing. Either A, he has nothing, or B, the thing I think is also a very likely possibility. Somebody's paying him not to say anything, and he keeps doing this baiting thing to get a paycheck like behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's what I think too. I think what's happening with Corey Feldman is that he does, I believe him, he knows names. I believe he threatens to tell them, and then those names cut him a check, and he gets to, live his lifestyle a little bit longer, and then he goes back underground. It's a nice little extortion racket that he's got going.
All at the expense of his friend.
Hobo Chili Recipe with $2 says, I hope Kirk Cousins goes down to Kensington and gets a fentanyl fajita. Let's get this garbage quarterback on the fast track to bum status. Let's beat Ryan Leaf's record. It's hurtful.
Wow, Hobo.
Ace with $5 says, I used to be a classical liberal, but what the fuck is going on? I tend to agree with you, Johnny, and April parroting your takes these days. Oh, you're parroting our takes these days.
Oh.
Well, look, Ace, I told you. This show fucking grows on people. Everybody starts out like, oh, it show sucks, and I want more blood and drama and this and that. And we're like, I don't know, how about we do a talk show and we say funny things and we bring up interesting stories so that even if the funny things fall flat, we're still talking about interesting topics that you can dig into. And now look at you, Ace. Now you're a poisoned cult member. Run, Ace. Run as fast as you can. But we will be taking that $5.
And just remember, it's like I said, handicapped people aren't to be trusted.
No, or women. Or Jews.
They're
like
almost
me.
as bad.
Thank you to Mike's Tool and Nail for $20 over on PayPal. Says, fuck it. We'll do it live. Thank you very much, Mike. $250. Wow, hey, thanks, guys. $250 away from today's goal. In the words of a very famous comedian, we're doing it. We're doing it. We're doing it. And by the way, under 300, not even at the end of the hour yet. Keep going. Thank you guys very much.
That's amazing. Thank you so much.
There's all the links in the chat, and thank you. Ace says, I always liked the show. I know. I just mean people in general. You were saying I used to be this. Now I find myself agreeing with this. I'm saying, the shit grows. It just kind of festers, if you will. MSO is putting Blueface, to give you an idea of where Blueface, or MSO is, not Blueface. To give you an idea of where MSO is right now, he's putting a chilled face emoji in the chat, so he's very nervous about you guys being at 250. So I guess keep it going, because anything we go over today, we keep tallies. Half of it goes to Redbeard's GoFundMe. We lost Redbeard, of course, over the weekend, if you didn't hear. And half of everything we go over this week is going to go to his family. And then we're going to give back his VIP at the end of the week as well, which seems a little morbid, I guess, but somebody brought it up and I loved the idea. So,
again, like, he's not going to use it anymore. So, I mean, you can have that back.
What if when we do shows, we start getting Redbeard ticket requests and you're like, hey, you cheater, pumpkin eater. But it's like, it's his kid. And I'm like, hey, we gave you back your VIP, you little fuck. And he's like, oh, but my dad died. And you'll be like, shit. You know what? Gotta give it to him. Gotta give it to him.
The VIP thing and the tickets are how we uncover the fact that the whole death was faked. It's some sort of insurance scam. Nobody would have caught on if it wasn't for that goddamn steel toe show.
I think in the chat yesterday during the members only show, which become a member, you get extra shows and extra content. And tonight we'll be launching the locals community. That's pretty fun. We got approved on Friday, I think.
Coming Thursday, swingers finally, huh? Interesting.
Yes.
That sounds, dude. Seriously, we're launching the locals community. That sounds very much like all right. So put on a mask, drop your keys in a bowl, and let's have a good time.
Yeah, it's going to be a 24-hour chat. We're going to put stuff in there early. Like when I'm prepping the show the night before, I'm going to put links into like some stuff we'll be doing the next day, and it'll be kind of a more immersive experience over there on locals. So we'll get it going tonight, and we'll launch it during the evening show. Scarface says, and then there are the ROTC fans that became Steel Toe fans who are already clown-pilled as fuck. Thank God. BYB Podcast did say earlier, the Quad Father did say, I agree, Johnny, don't trust cripples.
Yeah.
There you go.
We're too determined.
BYB Podcast with 199 also says, if I die, can I have my super chat money back? Yes, but don't make me sign anything. Yeah, sure, absolutely.
You got receipts, right? Like, we're gonna need receipts.
You have to keep your receipts, otherwise, how do I know you've actually donated, or if you're trying to run the scam on me? I don't know these. I'm a simple butcher's boy.
can't understand that voice. I don't know why you do.
Oh, God, you piece of shit. Mr. Nagel says, can we use the Minnesota surplus to cover the goals this week? They kept it all. They kept it and gave us nothing. All right, let's go into these Topher Grace, Ashton Kutcher, Danny Masterson reactions. You know, people accuse Hollywood celebrities of being vapid and, you know, self-unaware and trying to make everything about themselves. And I think that's really unfair. And these
that's just Elijah Jordana.
Yeah, well, right. That's IP2 streamers. But you know, Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis had some letters, some apologies that apparently people didn't like. So they wanted to make sure, even though Danny Masterson, clearly the bad guy and is going to prison for 30 years, Ashton and Mila couldn't help but go, hey, excuse me, we have something to say about this. And then I guess Topher Grace, I don't know if he's doing it or if people are doing it on his behalf, but there's a lot of Topher Grace I told you so's going out there. Like, imagine, I'm guessing it's fans, because imagine if Topher Grace came out publicly, because I don't think he's been acting. I think he hated the business and he left. But
he stopped or something a while ago. We haven't seen him forever.
Yeah, I'm thinking somebody, you know, might have tried to get into his butthole once and he said, not worth it. But like a lot of people now, because he isolated himself during that 70's show and didn't want to get, you know, kind of mixed up in whatever they were doing. So now a lot of people are going, see, Topher Grace had it right. You got to keep your distance. Topher Grace told you so. And it's like, yeah, I'm not sure that's what Danny Masterson's victims need to hear right now. Is that Topher Grace was right, bro. They didn't. I mean, I don't think they were in the same position as Topher. And also, I don't know if Topher was Danny's taste.
I hate that name.
Topher. Yeah, it sounds like bad vegan food. It really does. But
I'm eating imitation golfer. It's called Topher.
Yeah. Perfect right there. Topher Grace was once labeled an outsider on the set of That 70's Show. But after Danny Masterson's imprisonment this week, many are saying he was right to steer clear. I don't think Topher Grace ever said, oh boy, I better isolate myself on the set or Danny Masterson will butt fuck me. I think he just saw a lot of young kids potentially getting in trouble and a lot of the trappings of Hollywood life, and he decided that he would kind of stick to himself and not get himself in any trouble.
They're not socialized with all these people, lest one actually be a raper.
Yeah. It's not like Topher Grace was sitting there, and he'd go home and his parents would go, hey, Topher, I was filming. He's, I kind of stuck to myself and, didn't really talk to anybody, and I kind of stayed away from everything. Oh, why? Because you're worried one of the castmates will rape you? And you're like, no, that's not it at all. I just don't want to get caught up in anything that could get me in Jesus, Mom and Dad. No. And then 30 years later, or 20 years later, whatever it is, his parents call him, hi, Topher. You saw about your friend Danny? Yeah, we told you what would happen. He's like, that's not why I did it. Click. Laura Prepon was not, well, we don't know. She's a Scientologist, too. They're all keeping quiet. Oh, my God. It all makes sense now. There have been a lot of reactions in the wake of Masterson getting sentenced to 30 years behind bars. This was after he was convicted of R-wording to women. God, I hate YouTube. I hate when YouTube just makes me talk like a toddler. R-ing to women.
Can't handle words, right?
Right, exactly. Well, we got to be worried about people who have triggers. No, those people need to stay away from media. The rest of the world needs to be able to talk open and honestly like adults about these issues. We can't, if we slow it down for everybody who can't handle it. I'm sorry, guys, this is going to send me on another rant. If we slow it down for people who can't handle it, it doesn't make all of us better. It slows all of us down. So if you're mentally crippled, and rightfully so, because something traumatic happened to you, the rest of us mentally crippling ourselves is not helpful. That's just, now we're all in wheelchairs. No offense, quad father. Now we're all
You're making my point for me without even trying. Like, hey, by bringing it down to their level, we're all doing worse. Like, see what I mean?
Right?
Just stay away from...
I mean, so this whole idea of like, well, we can't say that word on YouTube because it might trigger. No. Then the problem is the rest of us don't need to talk like kids because we have emotional trauma, which is very unfortunate. The people who have that emotional trauma need to stay away from things that might upset them. Because these people you're telling to dumb down their language, they've done nothing wrong. They should be allowed to speak however they want to. The people who have the trauma should protect themselves from any potential triggers, which is a good thing.
I should be allowed to say that he had a few good goddamn ideas.
No, different guy.
Oh.
Different guy. I don't think you feel that way about Danny Masterson. No. Ironically, always late to trains, historically. There have been a lot of reactions after the conviction, and one of those is a re-examination of Topher Grace's reputation as a cast member on their sitcom. It was well documented at the time, especially on E's True Hollywood Story. It was known that Topher simply wasn't all that close to the boys in the cast, with Ashton Kutcher, Wilmer Valderrama, and by the way, I don't know how to say I think I can say it this way. They should have been keeping an eye on that Wilder Valderrama, because you understand that his relationship with Demi Lovato conveniently began the day she turned 18. They said, oh, they're dating. Oh, just randomly today on her 18th birthday, they haven't been dating or fucking or anything like that before she was 18. Oh, no, they've just been really good friends for a few years now. Okay, Hollywood actor, cute singer. They've just been friends for a few years, and then magically, on the same day that happened to be her 18th birthday, they decided they should date. Yeah, I'm sorry, but to quote Super Troopers, do we look like the two dumbest guys in the world to you?
Actually, yes, we do.
Yeah. So Topher Grace, so you got Ashton Kutcher, who's with, I almost said Demi Moore, Mila Kunis. He was with Demi Moore. Significantly younger, and when he met her was underage. Wilder Valderrama with Demi Lovato, who was very underage when he met her. And then Danny Masterson, who's going to jail for 30 years. Yeah, I'd say Topher Grace was pretty smart. But again, I don't know if Topher Grace did that because he's like, oh, these three guys are creeps, or if he's just like, in general, I want to keep my nose clean.
Yeah, I think it's probably a lot more of the second one, because especially in the beginning of all this, like Danny Masterson, Topher Grace, all of them, they don't know where the show is going to go. They don't know the heights it's going to reach or anything like that. And from a professional standpoint, not tying yourself down with that group of people gives you a lot of mobility in terms of like leaving the show, doing other projects, whatever. If you suddenly have like relationships and things like that with people, and then it all gets a lot more complicated. It's a job. Treat it like a job.
Right. And that's exactly what he did. And then, you know,
they're not your friends.
And then, then they insult him for it, and they act like he's a piece of shit. And then, unfortunately, with these, that's the thing about taking these stances where you see things that other people don't, is that you have to wait sometimes 2, 3, 4, 20 years before you can go, see, I told her so, I told her so. And then by the time it comes, you're like, oh, that was... By the time the vindication comes, you're already second-guessing yourself, like, was it really worth waiting this long? Jesus Christ. Jim Ward Nichols says Leah Remini will never talk about her past fucking David Miscavige and other high-ranking members of the church to get where she is. She got out, though. Like, Leah Remini got out, and she's been ratting people out. I don't know. I don't think she's afraid of David Miscavige. She basically accused David of murdering his wife with no evidence. I mean, that's pretty ballsy. Robinson says Ashton found his girlfriend after she was murdered. Found his girlfriend's body after she was murdered by a serial killer, then called Danny instead of 911. I didn't know that. Robinson also with a great point, Johnny. Hey, Wilder Valderrama may have probably dated her before she was of age and then announced it on her 18th birthday. But as Robinson says, at least Demi Lovato turned out fine.
Yeah, she's not damaged at all.
No, she's doing great. Well, if anything... You know, he did a mitzvah for her. She was notice once she left Wilder Valderrama, all the shit.
Yeah, and I'm sure all of her, if she has any mental damage or baggage, I'm sure it all came from him. I'm sure she had none of it going in from anything else she's done in the industry.
You know, being famous since you were 15.
And wasn't she one of the Mickey Mouse people?
She was it Mickey Mouse Club? I know she was a Disney Channel
I thought she was a Disney person overall.
She was a Disney kid. She did Camp Rock. Don't ask. I was not into Camp Rock. I just, I may or may not have watched a Demi Lovato documentary once on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was between heroin
Used up
ODs.
half a bottle of hand lotion.
It was between ODs. So it was her first OD was done and she was on the path to recovery, but this wasn't the New Year's OD from a few years ago that she, came back fat and vegan, which is weird that you would be able to come back those two things. She came back fat, vegan, and trans, and now she's a little skinnier, eating meat, and likes dick
Straightish.
Again. Yeah, and is a woman. So,
well, you said she was eating meat, so
yeah.
Of course she likes dick.
So, hey, that's her journey. If she wants to be an immature little bitch and blow everybody, hey, that's her journey.
Like Mitt Romney, the hot dog is her favorite meat.
Yes. Erock says, Barney. Demi was on Barney.
All right, there
That's
we go.
where she got her start. Hey, kids. Would you like to shoot some black tar heroin and give me a hand job?
I love you. You love me. The producer stuck it in my D.
Oh, how you stick it in someone's D?
In their dick, the urethra. I
so
thought Barney was a dude. If he's singing the song.
Oh, see, I thought you fucked up an ad lib and are now embarrassingly covering for it.
No. I'm saying if you're dominating a dinosaur, you gotta get creative.
You have to engage in what they call urethral sounding.
Yeah,
in order.
It's rough.
All right,
you ever self-cath? This is worse.
Okay. So I'm sorry, we got off on a Demi Lovato tangent. I wanted to get to the Ashton Kutcher. I keep almost saying Demi Moore, Mila Kunis letters. They wrote a letter as Danny was being sentenced to prison that a lot of people took as supporting him.
Yup.
Which I don't get that level of support. I don't get that level of like getting people's back. This is what makes me think that all these people in Hollywood know all the terrible, dastardly things that all of them have done, because there's no other explanation for writing letters that defend a guy like Danny Masterson. It's kind of like these women who defend Woody Allen amidst the things he's been accused of. These women who still work with Roman Polanski, who's a piece of monkey shit. And there were even women who were like kind of given the benefit of the doubt to old Weinstein. And it only makes me think that all of these people who have done shady shit know about the shady shit all these other people have done. And so these other people whose, skeletons have not come out of their closet make sure that they talk nice about the guy who just art a bunch of chicks.
Yeah. And the worst part for this is like with the part that weirds me out is like, you guys, he was already convicted and found guilty, and now you decide to wade in publicly. Like now you decide to like, hey, we're going to write a letter. We're going to say something because he's been publicly found guilty of this. I feel like no matter what you think or feel about the dude, publicly found guilty. Whoa, time to distance myself. How about I stay over here?
Yeah.
It's been a while since that show.
Right. But if that guy knows something and he's going to prison, he's got no reason to keep quiet unless, you say something nice about him? I don't know. The celebrity couple,
Danny, be horrible if you slipped or something on the way in. You know what I'm saying? Just to take care of yourself.
The celebrity couple who both starred with Danny on that 70's show have been getting crucified online. After it came out, they each wrote letters to the judge in DMs in Danny Masterson's sentencing hearing, in which they said he was of good character and deserved mercy. Oh, no. Of course, a lot of people didn't take too kindly to that. And it seems Ashton and Mila are fully aware of it because they just posted an apology video online.
Do you want to see this video?
I would love to see this video. They do not have this video. It's right here. Man. Here it is. It's on TMZ.
I might still have my sheet from yesterday.
Let's check out the apology. So they wrote a letter to the judge. See, I believe the letter to the judge more than I believe the apology, because the letter to the judge doesn't seem like something they'd be sure would get out.
Yeah, the letter to the judge wasn't supposed to be public.
Yeah,
And they say that in their video. They're like, "Oh, this was meant for the judge to read," and it's like, yeah, that's kind of the point.
Yeah. We weren't. That's you being the most honest you can be. Is writing that letter to the judge. You know, that's basically them saying, "Look, sorry that you guys saw us writing a thing that makes us look like a piece of shit, but you weren't supposed to see us being a piece of shit. So now we're going to apologize for being the pieces of shit that we didn't want you to know that we were." Good talk. Salam alaikum. Never forget 9/11. Peace be unto you. Goodbye. Let's see how close I got.
Aware of the pain that has been caused by the character letters that we wrote on behalf of Danny Masterson.
We support victims. We have done.
It's actually the opposite of what you did.
We support victims. We just feel like this time Danny's the victim.
Yeah, we support victims, just not when our friend does it to them. That's kind of the sticky wicket. That would be funny if their apology was, "Hey guys, you know who you're not thinking about? And I know you're thinking about the victims, but you're really not thinking about what this is doing to us." And I feel like your accusations online are really hurtful and actually re-traumatizing Mila and I. And I really wish you would be a little more careful with your words before you spoke them.
We're aware of the damage that the letters we've written have caused, and we just want you to know that we're hurting too.
You know, Danny was a good friend, and when we wrote that letter to the judge, we were just trying to help our buddy out while sacrificing the people who were actually victimized by him and turning a blind eye to their cries of help. And again, you were not supposed to see that, so now imagine the stress we're under. And
I owe Danny a lot. If it wasn't for him daring me $20 to French kiss my future wife, who knows where things would have gone.
Right, exactly. Is that the one where she was 15?
No, that's the one. Yeah, the one where she was 14. They had that conversation on Rosie O'Donnell where and this is the weird part. On Rosie O'Donnell, Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher, this is back in the height of that 70's show, are talking about how when they were first on set together, Danny Masterson apparently dared Ashton Kutcher $20 in a kissing scene to go French kiss full tongue with Mila Kunis, knowing that she's 14 and he's 19. Now, That's not the weirdest part to me. The part is they share this story on the Rosie O'Donnell show, which that one took me back, and he like flippantly is just sitting there defending no, I French kissed her. She's going, "No, I didn't let him do it. It didn't happen. I blocked with my teeth, whatever." And he's insisting that he scored a French kiss with tongue. And I'm like, dude, you realize you're bragging that you technically pulled off a crime. Even Rosie O'Donnell's like, "And then were you surprised when the cops showed up the next day?" He's like, "Oh, they should have, ha ha ha." And I'm like, yeah, dude, that's not a joke, man. You shouldn't. And again, I wouldn't sit here later when over $20. I really feel like you don't need, even if you lied to Danny, say it didn't happen. Just let it go. The fighting to defend your honor over kissing a 14-year-old girl, really odd, man. Strange hill to die on.
I just imagine him standing there with his lawyer at a trial, and they're like, how does the defendant plead? And the lawyer goes, "Not guilty." And Ashton goes, "Yeah, but I Frenched the shit out of her, Your Honor." And the lawyer's like, "Shut the fuck up right now." "Oh, I put my tongue halfway down her mouth." And then she's the plaintiff, and she's like, "No, he actually didn't do that. I blocked it with my teeth." "Shut up, you lying whore. You loved it." Anyway, and then after that, she was on her bike, and she was going to go ride it around the block in between scenes. And I said, "How about a banana seat for that bike?" And I pulled out my penis. And like, "Ashton, shut the fuck up." He pleads not guilty, Your Honor. "Yeah, not guilty of having a small dick. Look at the size of this hog." Would somebody stop him, please? It's getting out of hand.
We almost had to stop filming because I split her in half.
They call me the Mall. Ashton, shut the fuck up. Nobody calls you that. "Yeah, well, they should." And then I sodomized her, Your Honor. Would you shut the fuck up? None of this is helping. "Yo, I just don't want people thinking I'm a queer." It's like, all right. Nobody does.
Producers knew we had chemistry when we met behind the scenes for our first reading, and I went, "Hey, you want to meet the stump buster?" That's what I call my dick.
I call it the wood chipper. That doesn't make any sense. So your client pleads not guilty? I guess. I guess he pleads Not guilty. You ever raw dog a middle schooler, Your Honor? Fucking rock and roll. Ashton, stop it. This is not helpful. What? I never said I was the one who did it. I just asked if he did.
You know, they say grass on the field, play ball, but you know when you don't have to worry about that? When the lights are off. Oh, couldn't see anything.
Hey, when there's grass on the field, play ball. But what if I'm in the backyard in the mud pit? Am I right, Your Honor? Ashton, shut up. Oh, man. I hope my rapist friend gets the letter I wrote for him. See, that one's actually true. All right, I'm sorry. Continue on, you two. Something about, I'm sorry, you were saying something about the best intentions?
Caring about victims?
Yeah.
We support victims.
Oh.
We have done this historically through our work and will continue to do so in the future.
A couple months ago, Danny's family reached out to us and they asked us to write character letters to represent the person that we knew for 25 years so that the judge could take that.
So Ashton Kutcher did his Steve Jobs impression from the movie, and he's like, no, not characters that you've done. We mean, will you tell people that Danny Masterson's not a terrible, horrible R-wordist?
Like, have you seen the clips that are available online? I mean, I feel like now we're all just going, whoops.
Yeah, right. It was right there. We just didn't think you'd be that brazen a piece of shit.
Into full consideration relative to the sentencing.
The letters were not written to question the legitimacy of the judicial system or the validity of the jury's ruling.
Right. We were just trying to get our friend a little bit lesser sentence and not have to take quite as much responsibility for the heinous shit he did.
Yeah, they weren't written to do that, but boy, howdy did they.
It's like if Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys showed up at Charlie Manson's sentencing and just went, you know, Your Honor, he can write the shit out of a song. Yeah, but he ordered mentally damaged people to kill others. He's like the male Elisa Jordana.
They were intended for the judge to read and not to undermine the testimony of the victims or re-traumatize them in any way. We would never.
So, wait a minute. You're right. They do literally say in the video, hey, you guys weren't supposed to see that shit.
Yeah, that was meant for the judge. That wasn't really meant for you guys. I mean, we're really sorry that these got out and you guys saw them. Yeah. Oops.
Why are you still here?
Hey, Ashton, you'll remember this one.
I already fired you!
Never want to do that. And we're sorry if that has taken place.
Our heart goes out to every single person who's ever been a victim of sexual assault, sexual abuse, or rape.
Really? Hey, my
except the ones that Danny might have harmed.
Yeah. Hey, my victimizer, he actually he needs a letter written for him for the judge. You think you could take care of that for him? And by the way, did they actually give Tom Sawyer marbles so that they could whitewash this here fence? And when are they going to get to work? Because
I have no idea.
Fence could use some work.
Well, they don't want to look like they're enjoying a ritzy, lavish lifestyle. They're trying to look like, just everyday schmoes of the people.
I believe I believe they call them yeomen. They're trying to look like yeomen at the moment. You want to watch the clips you were talking about of him and Mila Kunis?
Yep. That'll be fun.
These are going to be bad. Well, at any rate, guys, hit like, hit subscribe. If you feel like chipping in, the links are in the chat. We are doing pretty well goal-wise. Let's keep knocking it down. I'd be grateful for under 200 by the end of this hour, and there's still about 45 minutes left in that. We did lose a dear listener, Redbeard. Half of everything we go over this week is going to his GoFundMe. Contribute to that as well if you can. All right, Masterson accuser resurfaces icky clips, I love the word icky, showing Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis. Here we go.
Hilary Duff is in Lizzie McGuire. She also has an album out. She's going to be in a movie called Cheaper by the Dozen. And she's one of the girls that we're all waiting for to turn 18.
Okay, now I don't want to use the word defend, but I'll back that one up as like when you're he was 19 years old, I think, when this happened.
Yep.
And when you're 19, you say shit like that. Like I can count, I might not be able to count on both hands the amount of people, like when we were in high school and college, there were like hot actresses or whatever. The first one I remember is when I was a kid, actually, and older guys were talking about The girl who played the chick in Harry Potter, Emily. No, is it Emily? The fuck is her name? I've never watched the Harry.
Who you're talking about?
I've never watched the Harry Potter movie. Emma Watson.
Emma Watson sounds right.
Yeah, we'll go with Emma Watson. She was the first one where they're like, oh man, when she turns 18, this and that. Hayden Panettiere was another one that people were.
I was around for that one.
Yeah, I was the same age as her, so I was like, I remember rooting for that when I was like 15 or 16. I was like, oh, I can't wait till Hayden Panettiere turns 18. Because I didn't know what that meant, I think, at the time. So I'm like, hey, retard, you don't have to. You
don't have to. It's like consensual at that point. As long as it's consensual.
She's not going to fuck you. And B, you can whack off to her now. You're 15 too. So it's totally, you're good, man. Don't worry about it.
Oh, that was about whacking off? I thought that was always about like, oh, I can finally try to date her.
Right, that's what they're meaning, but also, let's be honest. You're you, not you. I mean the royal you. You're you and she's her. I mean, you're talking about whacking off and not feeling guilty.
But I mean, at that point, I'm sorry, I have trouble believing any of these people waited on that. I seriously would, I can't wait till she's 18. I'm sure when you're by yourself, you really like, well, I'd love to continue on this little mental foray towards personal enjoyment, but it's illegal, and that's I don't want to be a bad guy.
I'm sorry. Let's continue on with Ashton saying creepy shit. See, this is why the phrase no comment was invented. I know people think that no comment is a pussy way out, but look what's happening to Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis now. They wrote a letter to the judge, and now there's all this shit from 20, 30 years ago coming out that didn't need to come out, and they're having to explain themselves all over because their friend committed a felony, and he's going to prison, and they decided to stick their fat faces in it when all you had to do was say, I worked with the guy on a TV show a couple of times. No comment. We're good. That's it. I know it's not sexy. I know it's not the most honest way to handle it, but it stops shit like this from happening.
Well, this is one of the first generations of people that have been like, as they became celebrities or whatever, became more and more social, became more and more available because they kind of became celebrities in the day and age of like the cell phones, the Instagram stuff. So again, this is just kind of a tale for everybody. We're like, this stuff doesn't go away. It gets recorded and it sticks around. Maybe you should think about that.
If I would have been a cast member of that 70s show, which a lot of people were pushing for it, but I just, I didn't get there. What are you going to do? These opportunities come and go. But I was great in The Office, I've heard people say. So if I were on that... I
meant the casting couch.
If I were on the 70s show and they were asking me these questions, my publicist and I have worked out one response. When they say, hey, what do you think of all this Danny Masterson stuff? You worked with him for 10 years. What do you think? I just walk by, I have my head down, I go, rape is bad. There. And we're good. That's your only comment. It's true. It's accurate. It's hopefully how you feel. And you don't have to say anything else. And then they don't dig up a bunch of videos of you being a creepy, weird teenager.
Turn 18, along with the Olsen twins. Any 15-year-old.
Ended up getting the job, and I didn't
Working
know.
with me?
Yeah, and she was as hot as she was. Come on. This one.
14.
14, she was even hotter. But I'm not allowed to say that.
She was 14.
Okay, well, the nice thing about being Danny Masterson now at this point, though, is that doesn't shock anybody.
On brand.
Yeah, you know what? That's Danny Masterson, though. Like, he's a rapist. So, that's... if someone goes, I'm going to cut your heart out and I'm going to eat it in front of you, you're like, oh, my God, what's wrong with you? But if Ed Gein says it, you're like, well, yeah, you should keep your distance.
Kind of what he does.
Yeah, it's his thing.
When we started the show, I was...
Yeah, if someone says, I'm going to serenade you after dinner and sing One Night in Bangkok, and you're like, that's kind of a fucked up thing to do. But if Murray Head says it to you, you're like, oh, well, that's Murray Head's song. That makes all the sense in the world that they would. What else would they sing? Tiptoe Through the Tulips? It would be weird.
When we started the show, I was like 19, right?
Right.
And they're like, okay, you guys are going to be making out in this scene. And I'm like thinking like, wait, this is like slightly illegal,
that's
right?
probably your first kiss ever, right?
It was my first kiss. Why someone bet you made with Danny about our first kiss?
No.
Oh, God. See, this is where women get guys in trouble. Because they don't understand the whole, that was between us. That was like funny, haha, to just those of us. And women just go, talk show, haha, funny story, go. And they're not thinking of the nuts and bolts of the actual story. So now
I don't know if she's thinking funny story go, or if at this point she's like trying to embarrass him a bit. Because back then she was probably a little bit more used to the grosser, pervier side of Hollywood. So maybe she just wanted to show it off him. Because they weren't together back at this point. This is
right. He hadn't even married Demi Moore yet at this point.
Yeah. Is it weird that that's the thing I'm most like, you didn't deserve that?
Like, who didn't deserve what?
He didn't deserve Demi Moore. That's not fair.
I mean, she was, but as past her prime Demi Moore. You know?
Yeah, I don't give a shit. That's not fair.
It's like when Haku tag teamed with Andre the Giant. It was Andre the Giant with back problems and he could barely move and shit. Like, you know, he got.
I'm sorry, man. I past her prime Demi Moore is still a pretty damn good Demi Moore.
Ashton Kutcher got the Demi Moore equivalent of Andre the Giant at WrestleMania 6. That's what Ashton Kutcher got. She was still good, but, you know, Bloom was
still got the belt, brother.
Anybody want a peanut? So this clip comes out. And, you know, the other thing I was thinking here is they said she had her first kiss like on
screen with
set.
Ashton Kutcher.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, no wonder these kids end up all fucked up. Like the really basic shit of life is
they
like
do as an entertainment piece for an audience.
Yeah,
and like think about this part. They didn't do just one kiss, cut, done, take over.
Right.
All right, reset, do it again. All right, reset, do it again. Like there's no emotion in it. There's no meaning in it. You're faking something and you're doing it over and over until you get it right.
Right.
And then we all just pretend it didn't happen and move on.
Most actors and actresses say that, unless they're like cheating on their spouses, I guess, then you have to say it. But they say that about love scenes. They're like, yeah, it's not fun. It's not sexy. It's not like, oh, yeah, I'm going to fuck them. You got some guy like with a camera right in your face going, oh, yeah, now move your hand down here. Okay, now do this. All right, don't do that. All right, now look this way. And you're like, trying to bang this broad, Henry.
It wasn't the first kiss. It was like the second
Sparks.
or third kiss.
It was the first. It was like the first week.
No, it was not the first week.
Whatever. Let me tell you what happened.
You were 15, not 14. Come on, give me some credit here. You were 14 and a half. God. Lying
It was
bitches.
not the first week. I'm a gentleman.
No, let me tell you what happened.
Okay, so I've never kissed a guy. So I was so, I mean, you know, Ash was attractive, and I was a 14-year-old little girl, and I was extremely scared for my life. Sure. And he was very nice about it. He was like, oh, don't worry. So I was like, okay. Then Danny goes to him and goes, dude, I'll give you $10 if you French kiss her. What would he?
Dude, this is a victim impact statement. This isn't a talk show.
Yeah. This really seems like someone kind of with a little bit of an axe to grind coming out being like, oh, and by the way, you were a total pervo. Let's just point that out.
Yeah.
And like I said, it doesn't age well for anyone. The only saving grace in this is like, well, they ended up getting married. It's like, yeah, sure, that makes it. So what is this, grooming? What
right.
Is,
it kind of feels that way. There's a grooming
Just a
tinge.
touch.
Yeah.
Stick your tongue in my mouth or some.
What? No.
For $10.
You're making it sound like it was like really. Okay, Dan, we had a little side bet going.
Yeah.
Like,
Which was?
It wasn't very
as to whether or not, you're kissing on the show or boyfriend and girlfriend.
Yeah.
You would use tongue, right, Rosie? I mean, you would.
From that 70's show, and you're watching In the Crease TV.
Hi, I'm Ashton Kutcher, and I'm from that 70's show TV. No, that 70's show too.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm doing this is not because I think In the Crease is good, but because Jock told me Mila would sit on my lap and was like, and it feels good.
Oh,
that one's new. I just had the Rosie O'Donnell interview.
But he's humping a teenager in that one.
Yeah.
No. I have an idea. Let's stop doing things like that. Let's go ahead and do the opposite of what you were doing. You know what? Get that motherfucker to a monastery. Or wherever.
I don't know where anyone gets this weird idea that Hollywood is fucked up and full of pervy people. I have no idea where this comes from.
I really can't understand where people think Hollywood is just a den of pedophiles. It seems like such an unfair classification. Lemmy says he should be prosecuted for that. It's fucked up. And then I think him marrying her actually makes it weirder.
Seeing all of that and seeing how they ended up getting married, yeah, again, it kind of feels like not that it was, because they both went their separate ways first, but quasi-groomery in the way that it turns out.
And again, you could have avoided all of this if you just wouldn't have written a letter to the judge defending the guy who just got convicted of R-wording a woman.
And again, in my personal opinion, looks really, really bad that you chose to write that letter after the conviction part. Like, I feel if it was before the conviction, there's at least like a, hey, we believe in the justice system and we think he's innocent and we'll see how it turns out. But after the conviction, like, hey, we know he's guilty, but he's a good guy. Like, I mean...
what happened is they needed to have John Malkovich on the set and go, do you fly, Ashton? No. Good, you remember that, because the next time your tongue pops out of your mouth, you fly out of this plane. It's like, we're not on a plane. I'm sorry. I'm filming Con Air. I'm a method actor. I can't help it. Greasy N-word with $2 says, you do know the only reason why Masterson was convicted is because he wouldn't apologize. Every time Scientology got the girls and him together, he would revel in their pain and humiliation. I mean, dude, I'm apologizing for shit I didn't do if you can get me to not do 30 years in prison. Like, I'm like, remember when Ned Stark thought that he was going to the wall if he would just admit to his treason that he didn't commit?
Mm-hmm.
And he could go hang out with Jon Snow until he died? And then they cut his head off anyway? Like, I would be Ned Stark if they were like, hey, if you admit that you did this to these chicks and you say you're sorry, you'll never serve a day in prison again. Or you'll never serve a day in prison. If you don't say you're sorry for something you didn't do, you're getting 30 years. I'd be like, oh, yeah, I held him down. There was spit, sweat, and blood and cum everywhere. I mean, it was a terrible scene. Am I good now? Can I go home? Okay. I mean, 30 years in prison does not sound like something you want to fuck around with. So I have a hard time believing that it was all because he wouldn't apologize.
I wouldn't be surprised if that was a big part of it. Because if he thinks he's going to get away with it or whatever, they're like, hey, if you just apologize to chicks, I'm not apologizing to shit. I didn't do anything. Like, you keep the myth going or whatever. But I don't know. If you can get him sent to jail for 30 years, I feel like if you did something worth of 30 years of jail time, I feel like somehow not an I'm sorry just doesn't wash that under the bridge.
Oh, man. Hey, man, not only did you not acquit this dude of rape, but you done made best friends with Cyrus the damn virus. I just want Cyrus the virus Grissom in every one of these situations. Lemmy says, when was the last time you saw a man go to prison for 30 years for R? He did that shit. Yeah, that's the first time I've heard from everybody. Or that's the first time I've heard from anybody that he got convicted because he wouldn't apologize. I was kind of under the impression that he got sentenced to 30 years because he did it.